I've been delinquent for the past 2 Fridays because, the past 2 months, so September and October, just been so busy. And basically, I had to shoehorn this episode tonight. It's apparently the only time that I have to do the episode. And before we start the episode, we need people who haven't showed up yet. So we need people to ask questions. And also, we need the sponsor video coming up now.
Sawa ka na ba sa unactivated Windows mo? Well, lucky you! Pinakabago mula sa cdkeyoffer.com. Windows 10 and Windows 11 activation codes. Legit, safe, at pinakamura. Madali lang umorder. Hanapin ang Windows version na gusto mo. Piliin ang preferred payment method. Wala pang 5 minutes, nag-CDK ka na para sa Windows mo. Marami na kaming natulungan.
Dati, sudden depressed ako. But now, I found the love of my life.
Dati, aimless and walang purpose ang life ko. But now, I'm a world-class Zumba instructor.
So, web developer ako and content creator for a YouTube channel. And ngayon, ganun pa rin ako pero activated na yung Windows ko.
Kaya kung naghahanap ka ng legit, mura, at original software,
Check out cdkeyoffer.com.
Check out cdkeyoffer.com.
Check out cdkeyoffer.com. What's up, Dances with Waifus? To be honest, I try to schedule these things better. I try to tell people in advance that we'll be streaming, especially for Puwede Magtanong, which is the kind of premiere show that we have, or the one that most people are interested in. What's up, Mark Lester Navarro? Although Mark Lester Navarro is interested when I play RPGs like Death Stranding and Cyberpunk, which I should be playing. I don't know. I still owe the sponsor 2 game streams. I don't know if I'll be doing that tomorrow, but definitely within next week I'll be This is actually the 520 hertz or 540 hertz monitor. So it's not mine. Pinahiram lang ni Asus. I actually have 4 monitors set up now, so medyo like when I use it, I have to plug it in separately and put it in here. You'll see it in the B-roll when I release the video about it. And it seems criminal that I have to shunt it aside when I'm not using it. But I do have to return it to Asus. But so it's not a new it is a new monitor, but it's not something permanent that I get to keep. Sup, Billy Santos. But yeah, that's a 520 hertz or 540 hertz, some ridiculous thing. Wait, let me check. It's the ROG Swift Pro PG248QP, and it is. It says only 360 hertz, but that's not right. Alam ko 540. Oh yeah, 540 hertz. 540 hertz. Sorry, you can't. It's off camera. But I have another monitor set up here as a subsidiary monitor. If you've been watching my streams, you know that this is a weird camera angle for me. It's a lot tighter on my face, which I don't like because I don't like my face. But usually I have it here to the left of my setup, and then you can kind of see the ledge I have in the foreground, and it's kind of above and pointing down. This is a more basic camera setup. The camera is it's like literally I can reach out my hand and touch it. In the previous setup, I couldn't touch it without leaning forward. So it's a very basic setup. It's super close, like really tight. And the reason I had to do that was because I am testing out a new microphone. I'm not allowed to tell you who it's from. I'm not allowed to show it on camera. The problem with the previous angle was that you could see the microphone. But do let me know like how you find the audio quality compared to my previous audio quality. Actually, this is why I had my headphones on to make sure maganda yung audio. Pero wala naman lumalabas. Even though chinek ko naman na tama yung audio. I think it's more the settings of Restream. So let me know how you find the audio quality. Actually, I like it. It seems to... My regular microphone is an Elgato Wave 1. So previous gen, naka Wave 2 na sila ngayon. Although I like the Wave 1. I thought it was, pretty good. But I noticed that it has to be really close to my face in order to pick up my voice well. So when I'm streaming, my voice can sound a bit weak because I'm not, especially when I'm gaming, because I'm focused more on the game and I'm saying something, but the mic, I'm not like super positioned properly for the microphone. This one, it's on my desk, so you can't see it, but the distance is quite far relatively to how you're supposed to use microphones. But parang maganda naman yung audio. I do appreciate Dances with Waifus that you like the. I thought the Wave One sounded good. This one I'm gonna play back to see how it sounds. Although I did recording tests of it already. This one sounds pretty good. Tapos yun nga, yung parang maganda sa kanya, it is kahit malayo, parang maganda pick up niya eh. Sup, Rafael James? Printer promo. We don't usually carry printers, to be honest, Carmel. Pero you can probably custom order. Okay, let me get to the tech questions because this is Pwede Magtanong. Oh, sorry. Before I start with the tech questions, this is an EXA headset, which EXA was kind enough to send to us for review, and you'll be seeing a short about it. Hopefully sooner rather than later. But to be honest, we're kind of backed up with. Thank you to Most Cookies, not sponsored, but I do like Most Cookies. Okay, ASMR cookie eating, but there's not much sound. To go back to eating cracklings. Pambi, yes, we do have a 4060 on stock in the shop. It's available. Like, it's actually on stock. We don't need to get it from a supplier or anything. So this headset is from EXA. Nice basic headset. Actually, the design is very reminiscent of the H3, yung tough H3 from Asus, which is, I assume, a bit more expensive, but I haven't checked out the price of this yet. There's actually another EXA there in the back behind the monitor. They sent over two headsets. So we're testing both and we'll come up with a short for both. Sup, Michael Ferrendo? That is the chismis na supposedly may lalabas na super or TI versions, TI versions of the GPUs, but I haven't heard anything. I haven't heard any specifics yet. So everybody now, puro chismis lang yan. So I can neither confirm nor deny with any reasonable certainty kung ano ba talaga lalabas, 4070 Super, 4070 Ti, or something like that. Yes. So I could not say. Yan yung chismis, but there are no details talaga na pinned down yet. Man, I've finished Cyberpunk once. 11 times seems a bit extreme. Sup, Revin Jan? I am curious to do a performance review of the 14th gen versus 13th gen, but it's not a priority because basically, especially for those kind of benchmarks na, they're very, the whole world gets it basically around the same time. Lamang talaga yung big tech channels. Like, I'm sure they give, Gamers Nexus can get a copy easy or get a sample of the product, a lot quicker than us, Linus. Their test benches are a lot more rigorous and things like that. So, like, for my personal curiosity lang, I would be interested to do a breakdown comparison. But really, the benchmarking results probably wouldn't be that surprising considering that most of the reviews are na, well, it's a step up slightly, but they are still using the Raptor Lake framework or, the Raptor Lake design. The Raptor Lake design, that's why it's still compatible with LGA 1700. So 12, 13, and 14. Very different for Intel. Usually they don't go past 2 generations. Although the 14th gen is kind of cheating. It's just really like a refresh. They added some cores to some of them, but basically they're plucking out the chips na pumasa sa Silicon Lottery. Oh, we can kind of overclock these guys, slap on a bit more chips, threads, and then, sorry, not threads because those are virtual, but slap on a little bit more hardware and call it a day. It's a very mild refresh. It's not really like something to get super excited about, I think. But if you were holding out for an upgrade, might as well go na rin for the 14th gen. So if you're getting something brand new. Sup, Anton? All right. Sige, let's get to the questions. We'll try to do it snappy. Sup, Michael? Ano po mas maganda? RX 7800 XT or 4070 Ti for i5 12400. A little I don't usually resort to calling something bottleneck or something, but either of those GPUs will bottleneck. I think the 4070 Ti is faster in terms of performance, definitely better in terms of DLSS. For the for the AI upscale sampling and RTX. So 4070 Ti, if you can stretch the budget, because the 7800 XT would be cheaper. We just did price watch. Let me check. Because the 4070 is around. I don't even need to check. For the 4070 is around 40 plus K. You can get cheaper brands around 38. Um, but the Asus one we have is around 40 plus K. That's a 4070. So the 4070 Ti would be even more expensive than that. You can get a 7800 XT for around 35, 36, 37. So in in terms of price, mas mahal yung 4070 Ti, pero mas mabilis din siya. But that being said, I did mention a bottleneck. So both of them would bottleneck. You get more of a bottleneck with the 4070 Ti high, as Nvidia likes to call them. Pero for me, if you can afford, like kung kasya naman sa budget yung 4070 Ti, I would go with the 4070 Ti just because I'm not super afraid of bottleneck. Yes, it is a thing, but I think you can still see noticeable improvement in your games. Even with the bottleneck. So I wouldn't be too concerned about the bottleneck. Yes, there will be a bottleneck. But if that's your thing, if, kaya naman ng budget, I would say go for the 4070 Ti. Sup? Sup, Ochi? You're welcome. Thank you for custom ordering from us. The supplier was actually thrilled that we were able, that they got the 4900K order out the door right away. Julius, best fan for PC case po and fan for CPU tower cooler. I like the deep cools. Very good bang for your buck. They come in a variety of sizes, so they can fit most cases. Yun yung number one muna. Make sure that the fan. Oh, sorry. I thought you meant CPU cooler, but you're asking like just the fans. You're gonna replace the fans of your case. I like Arctic. Arctic is very good value for money. Noctua, of course, if kung pasok sa budget, Noctua is aces. Like Noctua is fire and forget. You don't need to worry about those things anymore. They are a bit pricey, like 1,000 plus per fan. Arctic, you can get like the 5-pack for that price. So Arctic is very good value for money, very good performance. Noctua, if you want to splurge a bit more. Be Quiet also has very good fans, also a bit on the pricey side. But yeah, I would go with Arctic for bang for buck, and then if you want to stretch, you can go Noctua or Be Quiet. My fans, my personal rig is open air because a test bench setup, so I don't really have a lot of case fans because what would be the point? Although I am rocking a Noctua cooler and it's using Noctua fans now. Yun. So this is the Exa headset, white. Usually I use my MH630. Although to be honest, medyo wala ring silbi to eh. I mean, it's what I'm saying doesn't get piped to the audio for some reason, but I think that's more the settings of Restream rather than a problem with the mic, because the audio is working. Sorry, the audio output is working. I have plugged it into the mic, then I play the YouTube video and I can hear it naman. It's just that I can't hear myself like when I talk through the mic. But anyway, I think that's more of a Restream issue. Based on my experience and reviews, newbie here, ask ko lang po yung laptop ko is nagkaroon ng line and nagkulay pink. Pwede po siyang gamitin na matagal kasi bumili na lang ako ng monitor. Yes, basically, man, you can really see the problem with this tight focus when I put the chat on screen. Like basically covers my face. What you're describing probably is a display issue. So yes, if you have a monitor that you plug into your laptop, you can run the laptop, and even if the screen goes to hell, you can still use your laptop and then just output it to the monitor. So long story short, yes. What you described does sound like a display issue. Yes, Garth, please ask. Just post your question and we'll get to it. Riku, may problem ako sa PC ko. Fan spin at max RPM. PSU is working fine. LED debug is stuck at white. No post. Sorry, I'm chuckling to myself because my answer to these kind of questions always is check the RAM. Try to reseat the RAM, reseat the GPU. Usually that works for some reason. I don't know. For me, it's always RAM. I've heard other tech channels say the same thing, especially for Linus. Linus's go-to is always the RAM. That's also been my experience. So for these kind of problems na parang hindi siya nagbo-boot up ng maayos, I would suggest, and it's super easy to do, just turn everything off, unplug your PC, remove the RAM, wait a little bit, stick it back in, power up your PC, and then see if that works. And then, since I'm already monkeying around inside the PC, I would also suggest reseating the GPU. Sounds super basic, but you'd be surprised how often that solves the problem. If it happens again, then maybe you need to do a mem test on the RAM. Record po ba, sir, na may nanonood sa likod nyo habang nagla-livestream? No naman. Actually, I like doing it without an audience, although that is just a reflection behind me. The couch is for my use because I do have a large monitor. So when I'm watching episodes on my monitor, I sit that far away kasi medyo malaki yung monitor ko. And I try to get like high quality video para you can see all the details. Sayang naman. For gamers, we have just to shout out the brand that supported us. Prism Plus has some good monitors, around 7,000, 8,000. They're pretty good specs wise. Quality wise is also good. Although, to be honest, we ran across an issue with one of the Prism Pluses. We have 2 monitors from them that they sent over and then they allowed us to keep. One of them medyo bumigay na yung port. So that seems to be a long-term concern with Prism Plus. You can get it warranted. Yung maganda, they're actually in country, so they're not just selling it through Singapore. They're a Singapore company. They have to ship it through Singapore. They do have a local presence here, so warranty is faster. The specs of the Prism Plus are usually pretty good at a pretty good price. Longevity-wise, one of the ports seems to have given out already. I think it was a display port on one of our monitors. You can get it warranted. The plus side is that they do have a presence here. The downside is, you have to wait and things like that. If you want to go with a bit higher tier brand, Asus has one that's very good for gamers. 24 inches siya. I don't know if we still have in stock. Let me check. The refresh rate is crazy on that thing. Wait, I have to duck because I can't see my monitor because the tripod is in the way. The Asus, the Asus VY249 HGE is 1080p, but it's 144 hertz at 9,900 pesos. So that's pretty good already. We actually have a ViewSonic, which is 1080p also, 180 hertz for 9,650. So I'm assuming you're a gamer. These brands are reliable. And kung magka-problema, because as I always say, regardless of the brand, regardless of how much you pay for, magkaka-problema talaga. I mean, it's just the luck of the draw. Eventually, you're gonna come across something. Mabilis naman yung warranty nila, both Asus and ViewSonic. But those are actually below 10,000. But, for me, to be honest, if you can splurge a little bit more, sobrang sulit to splurge on your monitor because baliwala lang yung ang bilis ng specs mo if your monitor can't display what the PC is capable of outputting. So my personal thing would at least be 27 inches. I love having a large monitor. It really adds to the immersion of whatever you're playing. And 2K, so 1440p settings. I don't need it super fast, maybe around 144 hertz. Above 144 hertz to me, I can live without. Pero actually even maybe 120, you can still find one. Although I can't think of any monitor na may sa pesto, na may 27 inches, 2K at 120 hertz, wala akong maisip. But those would be the minimum specs for me for a monitor if, medyo kaya ng budget. Sa Pesto, Dystopia, do I need a new Windows key for a new motherboard? Yes, probably. Windows bases, basically it's like, oh, you bought a new computer, that's why you need that. This is the thought process of Windows. Oh, you bought a new computer, that's why you need a new Windows key. And it bases that if you replace the motherboard. You can replace everything else. Microsoft won't care. It will still think it's the same computer. But when you replace the MOBO, biglang, oh, bago na yan. One option though is if you've um, linked the CD key to your Microsoft account. I think that way you can install Windows and then reactivate it using your Windows account kasi nakatie in na doon. I don't like doing that though because Microsoft basically gathers information about you through the account. So I prefer buying a one-time key that I use to activate. Usually I don't reformat naman a lot and I don't upgrade a lot. And what I do upgrade is like a GPU or something. So okay pa rin yung Windows activation ko, my key. I do not like tying it into my Microsoft account, but that's just me. That's my personal Wave 3 na pala yung Elgato. When I was buying the Wave 1 and Wave 2, I was deciding between when I was buying my Wave 1, I was deciding between 1 and 2. May 3 na pala. What I do want to get from Elgato is their teleprompter. Sup, Adrian? Yes. No, sorry. We do delivery. So sorry, the in-house courier. No, we don't do it outside of Metro Manila. So it's just inside Metro Manila for now. If it's like super adjacent, I probably would for you, to be honest, because I know you're a supporter of the channel. I see your name pop up often. If it's like adjacent, like Antipolo, Rizal, maybe we haven't tried yet down south. We've been to be we bought we got an in-house courier recently, so he's full-time employee. We got him a motorcycle to make sure na hindi siya masiraan sa daan and things. We haven't tried him out yet papuntang south, so let's say lampas nung Las Piñas, yung tipong malayo na yung Calamba. Kahit yung Santa Rosa, we haven't tried him out yet. But I would be curious to try it if we can extend our range that far. So slightly adjacent of Metro Manila, Bulacan, maybe, Antipolo, Santa Rosa, baka kaya pa. But we haven't done that yet, full disclosure. Compatible for upgrade B450 Mortar Max to Ryzen 5800X. Yes, you'll probably need to update the BIOS, but the B450 chip is still AM4 and the 5000 series, which includes the R7 5800X, is AM4. So yes, kaya naman, you probably just need to update the BIOS of the motherboard. There was actually a big stink when I think the 5000 series came out. Na AMD was like, well, we promised all of our old motherboards would support up to 5000 series, pero we're just really having a hard time cramming all of the necessary instructions onto the motherboards, because actually the size, the storage space that reserved for BIOS is actually super small. So AMD had a problem initially na they said na okay, certain older motherboard models, kasi yung B450 was supplanted, or yung mas mataas sa B450, B550. So AMD was a little trying to get away with a fast one, and I think the B450 was initially included na hindi na supported yung mga newer CPUs, but because people complained, the AMD turned around, tas nagawa na ng paraan. So yes, it's supported. You just probably will need to update the BIOS. Sige, sorry guys. I will go back to the older questions. Let me just skip to the newer questions. Is it better to build AM5 socket? Because I see if so, I assume you're going to be buying a new PC. It still depends on your budget, to be honest. If you can go kind of all out, let's say 80 to 100, 80 pataas, I would say AM4 is still viable. Sorry. Between a certain range, 80 to 120K, I would say that AM4 is still viable because you basically get a super top tier na AM4, and then you can upgrade the GPU, the CPU will still be good for 3-4 years. In fact, I myself am thinking I am on an AM4 platform. I'm using a Ryzen 7 3700X, so not even the latest 5000 on with a 3080 GPU. I'm thinking towards the end of the year, I'm gonna bite the bullet and get a 5950X. I wanted to get an R7 5800X3D because I'm a gamer and things like that. But parang I think the extra horsepower of the 5950X will help me during editing because I just really get super annoyed when the playback is not smooth when you're trying to edit. So I think even if you're building a new PC, may value for money pa din yung AM4 socket if you get towards higher end, so that that performance will last you a good 2-3 years, even longer, depending on the usage that you do. Now, if you are like higher budget pa, over 120, I would say, sige, fine, go with AM5. You get DDR5. You're well positioned to upgrade later on because it's just the start of the AM5 series with the 7000 CPU line. So basically, if money were no object, no problem, go with the AM5. But 80 to 120 can still get you a very decent AM4 build that will last you a long time. Now, the interesting question is like, can you do a cheaper build but an AM5? Let's say 60K. It's getting easier, but the motherboards are still expensive. DDR5 is still expensive. In fact, RAM prices are starting to go up again. Medyo bumagsak sila for like the last 3 months. They went off a cliff. There was too much supply because the suppliers were produced too much because they overreacted to the shortages during COVID. Pero ngayon, now so for like 3-4 months there was too much. There was a glut on the market, prices dropped. But now prices are going back up again. My suppliers keep screaming at me na, "Sir, bili ka na kasi tumataas ulit yung mga presyo." If I had capital, I would. Para we could lock it in at a lower price. Pero so 3 Jack Dow, 3 Jack Dow bought a 3060 Ti for 1440p, AAA gaming. Mahirap na i-sell second hand for a good price for upgrading, right? It really depends on what you bought it. I think parang on the context of your question, you bought it at full price. It's hard to sell it at full price, yes, but you can probably sell it second hand. The 3060 Ti is still a very good card. So yeah, I mean, I wouldn't really call it a mistake, to be honest. It depends on how much you bought it for. Malaking bagay yon. But performance-wise, the 3060 Ti is still, very acceptable in 2023. 2K gaming, it is kind of like a very well-performing 1080p card shading into 2K gaming space. It's super close to the 3070. So you're actually getting very close to the performance of the 3070 for less of the price. So I actually like the 3060 Ti as a very good performer for value. 2K gaming, it does well for the price. So I wouldn't call it a mistake naman. Although it depends on what you bought it for. If you're thinking like you wanted, like parang the tenor of your question is that you're thinking of selling it and then buying a newer card. I mean, you won't be able to get full price for it. Yun nga. So if you're thinking of doing that, yes, it was a mistake. You should have just saved up your money that you put into the card para makiipon ka to get, a faster 40 series card that can handle 2K. So in that respect, yes, if that's a context, that was a mistake. But if it was na yun talaga yung budget, pumasok ka na, enjoy it. You use it for 6 months or so, then you ipon ulit, and then you can sell it for maybe 3/4 of the price, maybe, depending on how much you got it for. So it's not a super big mistake. Okay, let me just sorry, I jumped and then I agree. Smallest ATX case. I don't know. What's a small ATX case? I can't think of any, to be honest. We kind of trend towards the larger sizes. Um, I'd say mid tower, but that's a super general answer. And I can't think of any like the smallest ATX case that I've seen. Like nothing stands out to me in terms of like, oh, ito sobrang liit nito. Like for an ATX case. I answered this question already. Yes, most likely you do unless nakatay in yung key sa Windows account mo, sa Microsoft account mo. This is a very broad question. Very briefly, and actually we're doing a video on this. Very briefly, some things you should consider. What resolution do you play at? That's super important. That will determine like if you play at 1080p mostly, then you should only look at these cards. Parang ganon. What settings do you play at? Do you like it with RTX on or not? So that's the first one. And also, what kind of games do you play? I mean, if it's just Dota 2, you don't really need a super expensive graphics card. If you're looking for AAA games, probably want a card with at least 12 gigabytes of VRAM, because that's the whole thing now. So, sorry, just to boil it down. Number one, what resolution do you play? Number two, what games do you play? Number three, what settings do you play on? Yun nga, do you like higher texture qualities and things like that? And with those three questions, you can kind of narrow down what kind of graphics card you need. Like for me, I like to answer that criteria. I like playing at 2K. I do like high graphic settings. Like I sacrifice frame rates for graphic fidelity or higher graphics. So I don't like if it's a story game, I don't need 100 hertz, 100 frames per second. I can do 80 pero high graphics, mataas yung texture, shaders and the textures are on high or ultra high or things like that. But those are my personal preferences. So and usually when I buy, usually one time big time, like I buy something and then I don't change it for the next ilang taon. So yun nga, I have a 3080 now, which actually I just stole from the shop. So but that's in line with what the kind of thing, like I kind of try to get high end pero di ko na pinapalitan for like a long time because I do like that is my gamer profile. I want 2K, I want high graphics. I don't mind low refresh rates or relatively, low frame rates. So yun, those are the things that you need to consider for yourself, and then from there mananarrow down mo na itong bagong graphics card, baka yung 4060 okay na sa akin, etc. Parang ganyan. 5600G with a 4060, yes, it is compatible. We've talked about this before actually in our latest Bibili Ka video. Like we have an hour 30-minute video where we talk about every component in the PC. One of those is the GPU. This question, like, is it possible to pair X CPU with Y GPU? The answer, like 99% of the time, is yes. What the question really asks is that will it bottleneck? And that's a whole thing. Sorry. So just it's a whole thing. Let me just put the link na lang in chat where I think the video really describes it better. Like what you need to consider about that, what you mean by pwedeng i-pair and ano yung compatible and things like that. Let me just pull up the link. And I will put the GPU part na. GPU. Because I really get confused when people ask me this question because if it's just on the level of that question, pwede ba tong CPU na to sa GPU? Pwede, gagana siya, compatible siya. But I think what people mostly usually mean by it is that there's the link in the chat below. Is it a good idea? Will it bottleneck? And that's a completely different question from this question na gagana ba. Magkaiba ba yung compatible ba siya, gagana ba, versus is it a good idea? Is it the most efficient way? is it compatible? Will it bottleneck? Brand new 7600 better than used 6700 XT. Um, I think performance-wise, actually, 6700 XT is faster. Um, I think, I mean, that's what I recall from the reviews and things, the benchmarking that I've seen. But I do understand yung hesitation mo kasi inisip mo, bibili ako dun sa previous gen, may bagong generation na. But a lot of the times, especially for graphics cards, the previous gen na medyo mataas is still faster than the newer gen na lower end of the newer gen. So 600 XT, I think, is faster than the 7600. And it's not like, kasi sa NVIDIA, even if you're getting a slower 40 series card, you do get access to DLSS 3 or frame generation, which is only available on the 40 series cards. Walang ganun sa AMD. There is no special feature on the 7000 series that is not available on the 6000 series. As far as I know, AMD has been making moves, but I haven't come across anything na parang ganun. Kasi sa NVIDIA, if you're looking at DLSS 3 frame generation, which is really interesting tech actually. We did a video for NVIDIA recently. Basically, what DLSS 3 does is that there are two scenes from a game. So scene 1 and scene 2. Tapos yung gitnang scene, yung scene dito, the AI is able to generate it on the fly. That's DLSS 3 frame generation. And it really helps the frame rates. We did a short benchmark in Cyberpunk with DLSS 3 off, frame gen off, and frame gen on. Layo ng difference. We have a short about it on the channel if you're curious. That's yeah, I mean, it boosts them frames without any sacrifice of graphical quality. I mean, I wouldn't have known just based on the watching the benchmarking video na DLSS 3 was on. I mean, it looked basically the same. You could probably go higher, to be honest. 3060 12 gigabytes is fine. If the budget can afford it, I would go higher, 3070, 3080. In general, if you're a gamer, spend more on the GPU. Spend as much as your budget can. If you know you're going to be playing those kind of games. Again, kung Valorant, Dota 2, you don't need to spend that much on the GPU. Those are super efficient games. You don't need a super high-end GPU. 3070, 80 degrees, playing AAA games. So basically 80 degrees on load. Yes, that's fine. I wouldn't worry about it. I wouldn't worry about it. It's fine. Yes, you might probably see temperature decreases if you clean it up and repaste it. But the temperatures now, I wouldn't worry about it. Agree. Maximum GPU for 12400F. Yun nga, the question is basically asking what GPU will not bottleneck with a 12400F. But personally, I don't really think that should be a major consideration. So for me, it's what games do you play? Magagamit ba nung, bibili ka nga ng bagong GPU, pero magagamit ba nung games na linalaro mo? Yun nga, sayang lang, you're wasting your money buying an expensive GPU, but the games that you usually play don't need it naman. So instead of worrying about will my CPU bottleneck with the GPU, I would focus more on bagay ba yung GPU na binibili ko for my setup. Sorry, for my preferences, for the games that I play, for the settings that I like to play those games on. And I know this is kind of, again, we did a video about this very recently where I talk about na common tech advice that I don't agree with, and the obsession with bottleneck is one of that. Those pieces of advice that I don't agree with. Yes, it's a thing. Yes, we should all strive to have the most efficient setups possible. But kalokohan yung worrying about bottleneck. It can change based on the software. It can change on the settings that you have in the software. It's a moving target. So baka bottleneck siya sa isang game, pero sa isang game, di naman siya bottleneck. Pagbabago yung drivers, hindi na siya bottleneck. So I think a more helpful approach would be, yun nga, like how we've been talking about it. What games do you play? What settings you want to play on? What resolution do you want to play on? Best budget case, Oh, but so best ITX build, small form factor. Nakasha are 67, the 6700 XT isn't that big, isn't that long of a card. I mean, Nvidia is like 380 ata yung mga longest sila. Average size for a card is around 335 I think. Okay, 380 seems a bit extreme, but I can't remember like what the 4090 is. 335 is slightly long already. 6700 XT depends on the brand, but I would be surprised if it's longer than 335. An ITX case that can fit a 335, the budget. The NR200P actually is not that expensive anymore. It's around 4,000 pesos. I mean, hindi siya super budget, but that's a very good price now for a very good case, which can fit most GPUs. There's so many case brands on the market. Techware has some good cases at a good price. I can't remember any ITX case that they have because we don't carry Techware. We used to carry Techware, to be honest, and I wanted to get more. But the problem with the distributor, whenever I would ask them kung may stock ba, palaging out of stock. And then I learned na pinifavor nila yung larger shops. Oh, mag-order si insert large PC shop here. Doon nila ifa-funnel yung stock nila. So I'm like, well, okay. No hard feelings. I understand if you want to sell to them, but I just stopped asking anymore. Kumbaga, oh, may stock ba kayo? Kasi every time I asked, it was like, no stock, no stock. Hindi, we won't stock you. I mean, hindi naman sa, yeah, it sounds like a breakup or something na ayaw mo sa akin, hindi ayaw ko rin sa'yo. But just, the logistics of it, every time I would ask, they wouldn't have any. So that's why we don't have any Techware. But, we had them before. Okay naman sila. Very good for their price. They're very good at copying yung mga uso na styles from higher end brands, and they come out with their own version that looks very similar. But I can't remember any ITX na build, na case specifically from them. This is Rafael James's answer to the B450 question. This is true. It'll work, but with the BIOS update, you're not getting as many PCIe lanes and things like that. So you're not getting the full possible speed of the CPU. But just to that's the problem with answering PC questions. You can answer it you usually can answer straightforward yes or no. But just like you're answering a law question, ang dami mga asterisk or fine print na yes, it's B450 will work if you BIOS update, but you probably won't get all of the speed because it has a lesser number of PCIe lanes and things like that. So generally, when people ask me for tech advice, I try not to get into the weeds a little bit and I try to answer the basic question. But Rafael James is completely correct. There are advantages to using a B550 Mobo over a B450. Uh, 3060. Sorry. I don't recommend the 3060 anymore if you're getting brand new. Because for the 4060 is cheaper and faster. So I would recommend the 4060. That's basically for the ballpark what you would expect for a 5600G. If on a budget, usually sometimes 3050, but I think 4060 get it around for 19K now. I don't know the budget, but that's a very decent GPU already. You could kind of maybe go with Intel. Well, actually, yes, you could go with Intel, or you could also go with AMD. Pero para iwas sakit sa ulo, NVIDIA drivers are pretty good compared to either Intel or AMD. So 4060 no brainer. Same question. I mean, I remember this guy. You can go all the way up to the highest end of the 5000 series, so 5950X. If you're a gamer, actually, I wouldn't get the 5950X because yes, it has lots of cores and threads, but you don't really use a lot of that for gaming, which is more about single core performance. If you're a gamer, the Ryzen 7 5800 X3D, that's the important one, is still super good. That's what I would get. Yan yung pangarap kong CPU dati. Except now, maybe I need to get the 5950X. I'm doing a lot more edits now. Ren, actually, For those who don't know, Ren is our front-end designer, but she's also been doing a lot of the edits on our videos. We're refocusing her towards the front end. So she'll still be doing some editing, but not as much. So we're in a transition now. I'm looking for a new full-time editor. In the meantime, I've picked up the slack. Like I've had to do more edits this month, and my rig hasn't changed, but it's just I find it a little annoying now na mabagal yung playback with an R7 3700X. So I might bite the bullet with a R9 5950X. The 5600G, I think you can go A320 would be the cheapest from what I recall. If you can still find an A320, kasi yung parang pinaka-latest dun sa line na yun is the A520, which is all still relatively cheap, 6,000 pesos or so. But if you can find the A320, it is probably compatible, again, with the BIOS update with the 5600G. Vince Terms, recommended po na GPU that good for mining. If you're trying to mine Bitcoin, don't do GPU mining. You need to get the specialized chips. They're called ASIC miners. Because hindi na siya cost effective to do mining on GPU for Bitcoin. So Bitcoin ASIC mining, for Ethereum, you can't mine anymore like that. They've moved from proof of work to proof of stake. So there is no mining in that sense anymore. You can mine other coins. Usually AMD is better for miners, but you'd have to, it's kind of like the wild west for altcoins. You need to check like the altcoin that you specifically want to mine and ano yung settings na kailangan for that. I would imagine AMD cards are better, but again, it depends on the altcoin. I do not know. Rafael, my brother, is the one who's usually like my furniture. We had a standing desk. I don't know if Rafael ever made the video for that. Somebody sent us a standing desk to review. I think that had wheels. That's medyo pricey kasi siya standing desk. So yung may pinipindot mo, then parang akyat, mababa. It's pretty cool though. I think he still has it in his room. I can't remember the brand. Sorry, we don't have the technical know-how. For that, you don't need the 5600X doesn't run particularly hot. You can get a very good deep cool AIO. What do they call them now? The LS 520s or something. You don't even need to go LT. LS. Basically, the deep cool AIOs are good price to performance. They also look good. They're also reliable. But my suggestion actually would be you don't actually need to go AIO. You can get a very well-priced air cooler for that CPU and it will cool just as well. If you like the aesthetic of AIO, ibang usapan na yun. I mean, yes, then you can get an AIO. Deep cool would be my recommendation. You could even get cheaper with id cooling, but I'm medyo iffy on the reliability over, yung long-term lifespan ni id cooling. So, deep cool, pony up a little bit more for deep cool, you won't regret it. But if budget is the thing, you don't need to go AIO for a 5600X. I have no idea what this is. What is this? What is this pink mang one? I have not. What is this? Curve versus flat. So full disclosure, usually my screens are flat. I have 4 monitors here, a 58-incher, 24, 27, and this really old one is actually a TV na 42 inches na lumang TV ko. They're all flat. That said, I did get to try the ROG XG349C like 2 years ago. So that's curved. And I was surprised that I liked it a lot. I had biases against curved monitors. I didn't see the appeal or ano ba yung benefit dun sa curvature? I was worried na medyo mag-warp yung image at the curve. So, I was biased against curve monitors, but when I got to try it, and I got to try that for an extended period, they sent it over during pandemic, and I basically played the heck out of that thing. Like, dami kong games na laro dun sa HG349C, and you can still see it sometimes. It pops up in our B-roll because I got such extensive shots of it. So that said, I do not still even after that, I do not look for curve, but at the same time, if there was a curved monitor that fit the specs that I was looking for, I would get it. Like, hindi ako mag-hesitate just because it was curved. So basically, my personal answer is the curve doesn't add a lot to me. Yes, it seems a little bit more immersive, but the flat screen still works for me. So I would buy it. There needs to be something a bit extra. Like, is the price better? Swak ba dun sa specs na hinanap ko and everything? So everything being equal, I would still get a flat. But if the price was good or there was some spec on the curve that I wanted na wala sa flat, then I would get the curve, no problem. I would use the heck out of it. Yeah, I'm sorry. I know I've been a little reflective of myself as a tech content creator or something. In fact, we're doing a video now where I basically say I talk too much and I'm just gonna give you the advice that you want. What is the best GPU for you? Tas wala nang dal. Ito, bang. Because I know that when I give answers, it's like, well, this side, but then this side. Because that's how I think also. I try to weigh both pros and cons, even for myself, even for my own hardware. But we do have a video coming out, hopefully next week, where I consciously try not to have that approach. I just try to make it super simple na, ano magandang GPU? Ito, bang, 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 bang. But on the issue of flat or curve, everything being equal, I would probably still get a flat. That said, I appreciate curved monitors now. Lord, yes. Just get a 5800 X3D for gaming. Get it. Get it. I would get it. Like, it's been on my mind for a while now. When should I upgrade to 5800 X3D? Get it. Yes. 550 watt PSU, 6600 XT, 7500F, 32 or the yeah, okay na yan. 550 watts. That's fine. Hopefully it's a major reliable 550 watts from FSP, from Corsair, from Seasonic. Although that said, the usual 550 watt of Seasonic, the S12-3, is not so great. But the Corsair CV550, FSP, the FSP HV Pro is super cheap, 550 watts. But it is rock solid. Like, di ka magkakaproblema niyan. That is a ridiculously good PSU. Sorry for the price. 5600G, this sounds like the same question, but parang different person. Again, like a 460 for me would be an easy recommendation for that. There are a lot of people asking about, like, what GPU should I pair with a 5600G? Again, like off the cuff response, like I don't even need to think so much, would be a 4060. The new ones, yes, the new ones. Grabe. Our supplier actually has been offering us the new Odysseys, the OLED ones, the crazy ass large ones. They look so beautiful. I haven't seen them yet in person, but the reviews have been very good. I keep tempting our usual high roll spenders na, uy, bilhin mo na para we can see it in the shop. Wala pang kumakagat, but yes, the new ones are supposed to be pretty good. I'm not sure if this was the same guy who asked. I thought he was asking about GPU actually, yung 80 degrees. But either way, if it's 80 degrees on the CPU on load, that's fine. GPU on load, 80 degrees, that's also fine. Don't freak out, guys. Especially the 5000 series. I mean, the 5600X doesn't run as hot as some of the other 5000s, but the 5000 in general, the series runs hot. 80 degrees on load for either CPU or GPU is fine. Is this the new one? I haven't tried it myself. The specs are pretty good. I think Tech B-Roll, I think Tech B-Roll had a review about it, which I haven't seen, but I know that he was able to try it. Ito ata yung bago, yung bagong 27-incher from Asus. Sorry, I'm trying to recall. So Tech B-Roll has if you're not familiar with this channel, Tech B-Roll is also a Philippine content creator, tech related. I think he was able to try out recently that monitor. You might want to check out his review on that. 7800 XT, current CPU is only 3300X, planning to buy 5700 next month. Yes. No, go with the 5700 XT. Sorry. Go with the 5700X na CPU. You can play it now, so you're well positioned for the Christmas games. There's no need to go AM5, especially if you're just kind of dipping into AM5 with the 7600X. So the 5700X for me, especially with that GPU, that's gold. Is this the Elgato, the one I mentioned? Yeah, I know it's like $200+. I asked our supplier here because I like getting from our suppliers because I don't pay retail, right? I just pay the dealer price. But our Elgato supplier is not carrying it. I'm like, why? And I don't actually use a teleprompter. What I like to do is I have an outline, but then I like following the out. I just go with the outline so that I can be a little more spontaneous in the videos. But for editing, it's a real bitch, to be honest. If I keep repeating myself because I'm not reading from a script. So I think to save my new editor, whoever that may be, when we finally decide on one, some headache, I really need to shift to like more formal scripts. And my brother Rafael had several teleprompters, but I never found one that I really liked. The Elgato nga came out with a teleprompter just very recently, like this week lang ata. And that looks good because it's like its own screen talaga. But it's more than $200 currently. Sup, Gamer Zone? You're talking about the podcast. I do want to get back on the podcast horse, and and thank you so much for those who religiously listen to it. I do want to get back on it. It's just that this past like 3 to 4 weeks, yun nga, ang daming kailangan gawin. With Ren shifting back to front end work, and then the shop has been a little bit busy, so I need to stay on top of inventory. I just haven't had the time. Usually I would record that on Thursday and then para ma-out on Friday. And then I came up with a podcast. I never even I recorded one. I never even uploaded it because I was just so darn busy. Yun nga, then I'm doing more of the video work now. I mean, aside from my brother Rafael is also gone. So basically it's just me na lang with the videos. Every month we need to do at least 4, and then there are review videos pa because the brands keep sending us stuff. I don't mean to sound ungrateful. I mean, it is amazing that we have this platform, we have this audience, we have the interest of these brands. But it's also a responsibility that we maintain the quality for the brand, for the sponsors, for the audience, not necessarily in that order. I know you guys come first. But it's been a little stressful, to be honest. And then plus nga, I have a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old. I'm also teaching now in my alma mater for the second straight semester. So I have a lot on my plate. It just so happens every Thursday, ang dami kong hinahabol, whether it's inventory for the shop and making sure that we meet our deliverables for this month with everybody. So the podcast, Tech Show But Friendly, has been kind of sidelined a little bit, but I do want to get back to it. hopefully when we hire a new editor, we're also looking for someone to take over chat so that our current chat guy, Russell, if you met him in the shop, will be moved to inventory. So hopefully with these moves, so we're kind of like upgrading also in a way. Hopefully with these moves, the workload on me will be lessened a little bit, so I can go back to the podcast. I can slot the podcast back in to my usual schedule. To be honest, before I set up the channel, before I set up the shop and everything, I did LG monitor na 32 inches. Na, yun nga, I didn't own a PC shop yet. To be honest, I bought it pa in the States. So I don't know if it was available here, but I love that LG monitor. And then it crapped out on me, and I was so sad. I even tried to get it, fixed, but LG here said they couldn't fix it. This was way maybe 10, 15 years ago, but I love that LG monitor. The new ultra wides now, we recently got a customer that got 3 of the new ones. He posted about it on the Facebook, on our Facebook page. They look really good. I hope the long-term quality is also good. That customer has a special project for it. So 3 is just the first batch of orders. He's gonna be ordering a bunch more, and I can't talk about it yet because it's his project. But he has something really cool na public facing. I mean, meant for the general public, that he'll be doing with those ultra wide monitors. So maybe like in a week or two, we'll announce it also on our Facebook. So basically, he's getting the hardware from us, also the computers, including those ultra wide monitors, and then he's gonna do something really cool with them, and hopefully we can talk about it soon. 5600G, I don't know. I think you're the same guy. I recognize your picture. 4060. Man, I got buried again by the comments. Parang dami ng ano. All right, let me just do the ad again.
Sawa ka na ba sa unactivated Windows mo? Well, lucky you! Pinakabago mula sa cdkeyoffer.com. Windows 10 and Windows 11 activation codes. Legit, safe, at pinakamura. Madali lang umorder.
Hanapin ang Windows version na gusto mo. Piliin ang preferred payment method. Wala pang 5 minutes, nagsiligi ka na para sa Windows mo.
Marami na kaming natulungan.
Dati, sad and depressed ako. But now, I found the love of my life.
Dati, aimless and walang purpose ang life ko. But now, I'm a world-class Zumba instructor.
So, web developer ako and content creator for a YouTube channel. And ngayon, ganun pa rin ako pero activated na yung Windows ko.
Kaya kung naghahanap ka ng legit, mura, at original software,
Check out cdkeyoffer.com.
Check out cdkeyoffer.com.
Check out cdkeyoffer.com. All right. Please do check out cdkeyoffer.com. We have bought hundreds of keys from them, like literally hundreds of keys. They are legit. Sa Pesto. It's true. The general advice is you don't. So just to make it super simple, let's say you have 10 BIOS versions, 1 through 10, 10 being the latest, and your current BIOS is BIOS 2. The general advice is not to jump from BIOS 2 to BIOS 10, but you do BIOS 2 to 3, 4, 5, 6. You go through the series until you reach the latest. But to be honest, who has time for that? We generally just jump to the latest BIOS version unless magka-problema, and then that's when we start rolling back. So that's how we do it at the shop. Okay, scrolling through. Oh God, don't tempt me. That is my current upgrade target. My previous upgrade target was supposed to be the R7 5800X3D for gaming, etc. But I just got really annoyed na nakakabitin sa edit eh. You're trying to scrub through a video and then you're cutting and things like that. But then it's just a lot of time wasted. Yeah, so I just might bite the bullet and get the pinaka high end na nung AM4. I believe I have answered this. $2K, 240 hertz. The G7, you mean Samsung? My issue kasi, you need to check. My issue with the Samsungs is that some of the faster ones, especially the previous models, are VA panels. So the kind of panel that your monitor has, basically it's VA, TN, IPS, or OLED. I mean, very roughly. IPS is generally, I mean, OLED is the best. I mean, in terms of like image quality. Then you have various variations on OLED. But for most people, IPS is really pretty good. My problem with the VA and TN, the image quality talaga isn't good for me. So when you see the Samsung monitors, especially the older generations, na wow, it's so large, parang ganyan. But you need to check. Usually kasi VA panel. So is it VA or TN? Parang TN ata yung Samsung. I can't quite remember. But regardless, like I can't, I wouldn't game on a VA or TN panel. But if you're looking for 240 hertz, maybe you're not that interested in image quality. You just really want like the fast speed. So that's my thing with the Samsung monitors. You might be able to find 1440p at 240 hertz. I just can't think of any off the top of my head. And also depends on the size. But if you're considering the G7, it's a 32 or something. I can't quite remember the size of the G7. Yung Odyssey kasi G9 ata yun eh. Yeah. So if it's a G7, yun nga, I can't remember, but you have to check. Make sure it's at least an IPS panel. Probably. The 4060 runs on a lot less power than the 3060. So, I mean, usually you also need to check what your CPU is because those are your two main power draws, the CPU and the GPU. But 600 watts with a 4060, probably okay na. I wouldn't worry about it. Recently got 360 AIO, but idle temps. Ooh. Yeah, see, idle temps of 60 to 80 on idle is that's problematic. I don't even know what your CPU is, but that is not normal regardless of what CPU. And it's a 360 rad, which is there's a big difference in performance between 240 and 360 rads. So you should be getting a lot more, a lot better cooling with the 360. I don't mean to criticize or comment on your technical skill, but please make sure na natanggal na yung sticker dun sa CPU block of the AIO. Yung please remove before use. You'd be surprised how many times we've seen it na there's a CPU cooler that's not cooling. When we remove it from the CPU, we still see the sticker on the plate of the CPU block. So I would check that first. It happens to everybody. I mean, mistakes happen. Number two, if it's not working, if indeed natanggal yung sticker, I would try to bump up the RPMs of the AIO. But yes, maybe it's a CPU, maybe it's a pump defect, or like what we experienced before with the MSI Core Liquid 240R, may build up inside the AIO itself. So hindi na maka-circulate properly yung water. Tapos yung interesting dun, you can usually there are two pipes, so one in, one out. So in, flowing through the radiator, then out again with the cold water. One pipe was super hot and the other one's like you couldn't feel, like very neutral, you couldn't feel anything. And that was consistent in the Core Liquid 240R na may problema. $579 or but okay, versus B350. Yes, to be honest, I wouldn't. I don't memorize every new motherboard line. May like, oh, ilang number of PCIe lanes, but uh yes, there is some performance loss because the B350 doesn't have as many PCIe lanes as the B550. I'm reflecting because I said na I'm not a big believer in having bottleneck decide your fate, but in this case, I mean that's it's not a bottleneck between CPU and GPU. It's just like the GPU, it's like a bottleneck getting data back and forth between the GPU. So yes, I mean that might have as a significant impact. I mean you have a nice CPU already, and I'm assuming a GPU that follows. Um, you might also want to consider upgrading the motherboard. Hi, 700X, 4070, very good. LG, yeah, that's very good. That is, you're golden for 90% of the games. Trying to remember if we've sold kasi like high, larger version of the monitor. So if the specs of the larger one are the same as the 27-incher, yeah, that it's all good. B660M 3900K. Yes. It is compatible. Again, you might need a BIOS update. But yes, the 12th, the 13th gen, and the 14th gen. Hello? Oh, wait. Oh, there. Hello? All right. Parang the mic cut out a little bit. There's an indicator kasi on the mic. It started flashing red. But then it's okay na. All right. Just making sure. Yeah, so compatible naman. I don't know how much of a performance. Yeah, usually with a 3900K, you would want the kind of top tier, so Z690 Mobos or Z790. I don't know how much performance you're leaving on the table with just B660 and a 3900K. Pero if you're just asking kung compatible, yes, that is compatible, probably with a BIOS update. 4060 Ti or 3060 Ti? The 4060 Ti is a bit pricey. The 4060 Ti was not received very well. Reviewers really slammed it. We don't carry it in the shop kasi we don't find it good value for money. So kung good value for money lang, actually it's the 3060 Ti. The 4060 Ti is faster, but yun nga, it's in this very weird space where you're getting, it's not very good value for money. So kung better buy lang in terms of cost to performance, the 3060 Ti is still pretty good. How much is the 3060 Ti? Let me check. Wait. We should have one. We have the Ventus, I think. 3060 Ti is around, we have it at 23,185, so that's the Ventus. Um, we don't have a 4060 Ti. Yun nga, we don't stock it. We don't. I mean, we can get it as a custom order, but we don't routinely stock it because we don't. Actually, the way we stock the shop is na yung tipong we can recommend to the customers what we think is good value for money. So we deliberately don't stock CPUs, GPUs na we think like very weak yung use case niya. I mean, like, yes, you could get it, but for a lot of users, it doesn't make a lot of sense. So kung value for money lang, I would say the 3060 Ti. Ano kaiba nung OEM na Windows key sa retail Windows key? Pwede mo gamitin yon pag magpapalit ng SSD boot drive. I'm not sure what you mean by magpapalit. But you can use it wherever you would use a regular key. The I mean, they have the same features. OEM just means that when you bought a computer, meron na. Um, my problem also with that kasi is the OEM doesn't really tell you what your key is. So if you want to wipe Windows, put in a new drive, with a retail key, you would have the key, so it would be easy to reactivate. But for the OEM one, I don't know, like it's hard to find. We don't deal with a lot of OEM PCs, so um, my experience skews towards buying retail keys. The more interesting question is like, why are the keys from Microsoft so expensive compared to sites like CD Key? And we actually did a video on that a couple of years ago, like ano yung pagkaiba nila. But in terms of features, in terms of activation, in terms of legitimacy, they're all the same. I mean, they're all legit naman. I think this is the question of the night. I've gotten, 4060. 4060. Adrian, I bought a 4060 Ti Aero. That is the gigabyte, parang white GPUs. Dadalawang isip lang ako kung anong CPU dapat maganda if you can afford the 13400, I might as well go with the 13400. That's fine. 80 degrees on load, 3070. I wouldn't worry about it. Ang palit namin sa Ryzen 5 5600 para sa B550M. Actually, the 5600 is already good for that MOBO. You can go higher, R7 5700X, R7 5800X 3D if you really want to splurge. GPU, it depends what CPU you if you get the 5800X 3D, then like you're really positioning for gaming. At least 3070 sana, maybe 3080, 4070 maybe, bit pricier. But yeah, thereabouts. If you get the 5800X 3D. But if you stay with the R5 5600, it's a good choice for that MOBO. 4060. Oh, but if it's just for photo and video editing, I mean, you don't really need fast GPU for that. So 3050, I mean, you don't need to go overboard with the GPU. 1660 Super even, I mean, depending on the budget. Like photo and video editing, it still relies a lot on the GPU. On the CPU. You don't need to spend super expensive for the GPU. Paano po malalaman kung anong compatible or best GPU ang pwede sa isang system unit? I will answer that again with this video. You should really check it out. That's the GPU part where I talk about things like that. Dances with waifus. Displays like the MSI gaming ones have a targeting reticle overlay function. Whether it's cheating or not, thoughts. I never use it. I don't like having it kind of burned in there. It's distracting to me. Personally, if I heard that my opponent was using it, I wouldn't think anything of it. Parang, I don't think it would give that much of an advantage. So, I wouldn't. Feeling ko if you're a good gamer, a decent gamer, a competent gamer, you can. Of equal skill to that guy, it wouldn't matter anymore. Like if he had that burnt-in targeting reticle, I don't think it adds a lot to aiming, target acquisition, target tracking, and things like that. That said, I've never used it myself because I don't like having it on screen. I just today for a video going to be released next month, I started using AimLab. So the video idea is that AimLab is software. Patronized by a lot of professional gamers. Basically, you train yourself to have better aim. So I'm starting now today, and I'm going to see if after 30 days of using AimLab, kung gumaling nga aim ko. Because I'm not a professional gamer. I am 40 this year, so I am old. all that said, I think I'm a competent gamer, especially in FPS and things like that. I mean, I'm not the best, but I'm not uh I'm not hopeless naman. So but I want to see if there is noticeable uptick in my performance. Do I get more kills? Am I able to flick faster to headshot? Do I get more headshots? Does my accuracy improve after 30 days of using aim labs? So that is a video that we're doing for next month, but I have to start it now because it takes a little time. But to the previous question, I don't think too much about it. I think in any competitive area, whether it's like professional or even just like you're super into online games and you're very competitive as a person that I want to beat this guy. Inevitably, when there are things like that, add-ons and things, people will say na, oy, that's cheating because not your access to that depends on what hardware you're using, and not everybody has access to the hardware. But I think it's such a small thing for me. I wouldn't consider it cheating. Yung stream sniping, yes. I mean that is yung comsat, but by a stream. I mean that is clear cheating. Aim bots or things. So that's clear cheating. Hacks that show you the map, that's clear cheating. But I mean things like that, I wouldn't consider it as cheating myself. Like, I mean, yun nga. I mean, everybody has a keyboard and mouse. Not everybody has the latest mouse or something. But, the basic input output, same lang naman. And even like, if you're super good that you can take advantage of low latency things like your mouse, like NVIDIA Reflex and things like that, that's only because you are already so good na ma-maximize mo yung low latency ng mga yon. So, the hardware just enhances your innate skill. That you're already like medyo top tier as a gamer. And just last about it, Thresh, if Thresh is a super old school Quake player. Back in the day, when FPS was new and things like that, Thresh was like the champion of everyone. And he had an interview once. I love this insight into the gamer mind. He was kind of bragging. He was explaining that, yeah, I was champion. I was beating people. This was way back, like mid 90s, late 90s. He was competing sometimes online, but it's very much slower internet compared to what we have now. He was saying na I was beat nakadial, basically not exactly, but basically he was saying nakadial lang ako, sila naka ISDN or yung mas mabilis na internet, but I would still beat them. This is in Quake, which is basically the epitome of a Twitch game, of a reflex game. And a lot of people will complain, oh, kasi lag. Oh, kasi ping. Mataas ping ko. I can't compete because it's a game based on reflexes. But Thresh was saying, my internet connection was not the best, but I was number one. What he was saying was, even reflex games require more thought. You have to outthink your opponent, even in FPS, rather than just it's all about reflex and latency and Of course, it's good if you have excellent tracking skills, low latency and things like that. But that just only enhances the innate ability skill of the gamer already. Because the way Thresh did it was, I would get items even though I didn't need it because I was denying it to the enemy. I would know my maps. So it was strategic thinking, even in an FPS game. Where he's saying that people think it's just Twitch, it's reflex, but it's not. It's outthinking your opponent, even in a first-person game. And I think that was super insightful. Na if you're not a gamer, you kind of look at FPS games and think that barilan lang yan. It's just reflex. It's just who can shoot the fastest, who can aim the fastest. But it's really the better players are the ones that think about it. Like they have strategies, get the high ground, peek out, don't do stupid shit like just run and gun, which I grew up in Quake, and I have a tendency to just run and gun because I'm not Thresh level na pero yes. So I mean, just to go back to the question, there are a lot of enhancements, supplements that you can do. But for me, very rarely does it go beyond the line that's cheating. I mean, yun nga, obviously stream sniping and things like that, that's cheating. But yung mga ganyan, I wouldn't really consider it. Thank you. Reseller. Reseller, so parang second hand sila. We have a very small second hand list that we maintain. You can see it in the link in the video description below. Reseller, you mean like a distributor? There are official distributors, and we can get naman Radeon cards. Is run and gun a different genre na? Hindi na siya ba FPS? I mean, for me, I still consider like CS, Quake, yung talagang run and gun na I don't need to think anymore. I feel that's why I'm bad at the latest games like Valorant kasi may parang classes involved na. And you have to think. Yun nga, I'm not kind of stupid. I don't think well. Especially when, yun nga, you need to have more experience in Valorant. You need to know the classes, their abilities. Whereas, classic Quake is everybody is the same. Grab a rocket launcher and, rocket jump and things like that. But yeah, for me, like CS and Quake are still like run and gun. I mean, in my mind, but yun nga, as I mentioned, that is the wrong way to think about those kind of games. All right. Sorry guys, I do gotta bring my the fusion is there. Okay. Techware. Thank you, Dominic. Yeah, the YouTube videos are hard to they're a bit of a grind sometimes. We try. Keep cool. Keep cool. Or very very popular Cooler Master Hyper 212 and things like that. Personally, I like deep cool. All right, guys, I really gotta go. But thank you so much. I mean, the audience on this one was a lot more than I expected for a Saturday night. I do have to take the family out. Thank you for the stream. I was able to test this mic pretty well. I think I'll be listening to the playback so I can give my comments. This is the EXA headset. We'll be doing a short about it soon. This has been Puwede Magtanong for this month. We still owe 2 game streams, 2 videos. A bunch of review videos are coming out also. Tomorrow, I'm either doing live from the shop or a game stream. I haven't decided yet. So a bit of cramming towards the end of the month to catch up with the deliverables that we need for the sponsor. But have a good weekend. One last week before the long weekends coming up. So thanks so much, guys. Oh, Smash the Omelette. Hello and goodbye. This one was sorry, just last on the camera angle. This one is a little bit too close to me, like personally, I think. So we might go back to the other camera angle in the corner, but I really do need to get a lens for this ZVE10. I had a lens already that I liked from Sony, but it broke. I also need to get better lighting. If you notice, like in our more recent videos, the background RGB lights from Ulanzi are just crap. Like I bought 3, only 1 still works. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. Have a good night. Have a good weekend. Please tune in tomorrow. I will be streaming again. I just don't know if it's a game stream or a live from the shop episode. Well, I will try the podcast. I mean, I really want to get back on that horse.